And we are back with Winter's Heart.
Winter's Heart.
So
we did it. We finished.
We finished book 9 of The Wheel of Time. I want to say thank you for joining us. There are going to be spoilers in this conversation for Winter's Heart and the books, possibly the books behind Winter's Heart. And then I just want to say, we say this at the beginning of every podcast, but please, in your comments, don't leave anything that would spoil the rest of the series, as we have not read it and do not know what is before us. And then also, please keep your comments civil and constructive. With that, let's give a recap of Winter's Heart. Levi, I'll go ahead and let you start in on this, and just give me sort of high level, and then we'll fill in the details.
Yeah. Hey, gang. Welcome back. Thanks for joining Jer and I for book 9. The recap. Let's jump into it. So we start off with where did we start off? I don't remember. Actually, I think the first start off is this? Do we have Avienda and Elaine bonding, or was that before this?
That's in the last book. I think with this we are starting with.
Where do we start? There's a prologue. Oh, there's a Borderlanders. The Borderlanders are they're writing
yes.
the prologue. Okay, and we're gonna have to. I have in my notes here. Walk me through after that. Basically, we have. As is usual, we have the main cast of characters is spread all over the map. Elaine's trying to work on reclaiming her seat upon the throne of Andor. Rand is trying to stave off going crazy. The White Tower is still after him. We have more. Okay, so basically, what is nice about Winter's Heart is that we see more. I think, several endpoints. We see more of this is Shan Chan territory. Okay, this is, and we are looking into a little glimpse into their daily life, how they run their society, and we're maneuvering our cast of characters throughout their society and a little bit of their world. So,
in some ways, it's almost like what Path of Daggers promised it would be.
Yes. That's what we were hoping for Path of Daggers.
Yeah, and we got. If you guys haven't listened to our talk on Path of Daggers, we rag on that book nonstop. And if you read our comments or our website, it is by far the worst of the series so far. And Winter's Heart is like, I can't even tell you how much better it is than Path of Daggers.
Worlds better.
We went into this thing dreading Winter's Heart and came out of it being like, oh, that was a good book.
That was a great book. Yeah. Yeah.
I would put this on par with anything in the first 5.
Absolutely.
Sure. Maybe in the first 4.
It was steady. But help me out, bro. Let me know where what am I missing?
Yeah. So big picture here. Elaine's trying to get. She's trying to get Andor. Army from the Borderlands is moving in. We don't get much from Egwene actually in this book. Mainly, we're focused on Rand, his connection with his future wives, his 3 current girlfriends. I would say that bonding happens in this book. His push to clean Satan, that all happens in this book. In a hilarious sort of comedy of errors ending.
The denouement is like, wow. We'll get there. We'll save the comedy.
We'll get there.
And then we also have go ahead. So we have a little bit of Matt. Matt is a little bit. Oh man, and Matt,
daughter of the Nine Moons. Yep.
Daughter of the Nine Moons. He meets his wife, and we never get. I would argue that we never get tired of Matt trying to escape his fate and just failing. It just wraps him up in its web, and he can't. He just wants a drink, right? He just wants to sit at a bar and do nothing, and can't get away from it. So, We have a little bit of Min, Rand in here, Nynaeve and Lan, and then we get into there's a little bit more of strength coming into the push against in the rebels. Okay, so well, quote unquote, the rebels, the people going against the tower, and we don't really, honestly, we don't see the tower in this book. I don't remember us seeing the tower in this book. Any flash of Eleda or anything like that.
I think there might be one flash of Eleda in this book.
Maybe one, but 766 pages. It's almost not even felt. So
yeah, and I don't know. Is this also where are Perrin and Fail? Is Fail captured in this, or is that's probably the last book?
End. That was the end. So that may have been under the start of a flash of that a little bit at the beginning of this book, because
yeah. Okay. So yeah, so Perrin, it's got Perrin, and then he can't. He meets Masema again, and Masema is just like crazy mad, and he goes with him to go after Fail.
Right.
So so Perrin and Fail are in this book, not really at all, just and, barely.
Yeah, and they haven't met up with each other. All we get, the last thing we see of Fail or her is she's mixed up and she's rolled in with this army of Aiel, right?
Yes.
The Shido clan
with
and they're just thousands of Morghese
and the other queen.
And Galena is one of the eyes, the red Aes Sedai, who helped, who ran. She escaped Dumai's Wells, correct?
Right, she was the head of the Black Aja.
She was the head of the Black Aja who trapped Rand, and she's the one basically on the run, and she's gotten wrapped up as a channel wielder, as a channeler among the Aiel, and so she's trying to keep a low profile, but she's found out who Fael is, and now she's basically trying to blackmail her.
Right.
So that's, and then yes, and so we've left it there, and that was the beginning of the book, and after that it just all went to Rand and Min and Nynaeve, and we see a little bit of Rand, and anyway, that's we basically a little bit more of a Rand arc through this book.
We see a little more of Cat Swan and her struggle to try and get Rand to feel again, but trying to be close to him without appearing to be close to him, and then we get Rand sort of going after the Ashaman who tried to kill him, and Peyton Fane makes an appearance, and I think that's probably it. No one of note.
Right.
So in terms of living and dying, one of the Forsaken is taken out at the end. Osangar, Osangar, who was the Shiva, the Ashaman.
The Ashaman, yeah.
But aside from that, I don't think anyone else dies. So one Forsaken is taken out in this book, and that's it.
Right.
One Forsaken and one Ashaman, Eben or something like that.
No name, yeah, guy.
A young guy. So that's it. Okay, so I think we can start in on the book. Levi, what did you like about this book and why?
Okay, let's start off with where this book took us at the beginning. I like that we finished Winter's Heart in the heart of winter. That's a beautiful thing for us. I like that this book. What I appreciated was throughout coming into this book, Jer and I were getting, I don't know, foretellings and words from others and sort of warnings from others, that people that we know. A friend of mine's like, man, if you can get through Winter's Heart, you'll be okay. And you get all these online people are like, Winter's Heart is the worst, and so we get all this prep for us to be like, hey, prepare yourselves for Winter's Heart. But after going through Path of Daggers, we were sort of expecting a little more of that. What I appreciated was it was back to sort of the old Robert Jordan. This was pacing, there was color, there was vividness, there was expansion of plot and character threads, and there were ups and downs, and there was not just this whole valley. And so there was the story was moving along as well as character. We get a little bit of truth seekers. Oh, you know what we haven't talked about yet is one of the cool two things. What I really appreciate this. We're in book 9. Okay, so Jer and I have been on this journey for a little bit of time. Book 9 rolling into book 10. And what you don't get is you seldom get a feeling of you miss some of the old books, right? You miss some of the old stories, but you're coming back in. It comes full circle, and Robert Jordan keeps his world alive, and he keeps people cycling through. And we come across Bail Damon again, who is the ship captain. And I thought that was so nostalgic. So nostalgic point A is Bail Damon coming back in with his accent, and he can't put a sentence together without saying he no be the man, and you're like, all right, cool. And so he's now the man toy of this Shan Chan Suldam, or she's a forerunner, okay, Ejanine, and he's in love, and he has the side of his head shaved, and he's like the man when it comes to just getting if there's a craft on the water, this guy's like a master, and so now he leaks some information about, hey, there's a guy in town, Matt, and I remember him. He was running from Trollocs and stuff, and this is way back. We watched the story. We were part of the story back in book 1. When they were escaping, right, from Emmons Field and from Bear Lawn, the first big city that they went to, and they had to get across, and in the middle of the night they're being chased, and all of them, about 4 people, they find themselves on this craft, and that was the first time we meet Bail Damon and the accent of the Ilian and stuff like that. So that was cool. Nostalgic point number 1. Nostalgic point number 2 is at the beginning of chapter 25, the first page, Rand is playing with the flute that Tom Maryland gave him way back when, and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this flute forever. It's like finding a toy that you lost when you were 5 years old, and you're like, oh man, I love this. So those 2 things were very appreciative. I like the book because it gives us more Shan Chan, and I like the book because it moves the story along. I like the book because some characters, there was more life in this book, and aside from the absolute hilarity of the sort of the ending, but that was all. The book was great. I thought the book was good, man. Solid. Yourself?
Yeah. So
what do you think, Jer?
I agree with the nostalgia thing. What I really like about this book is that the plot moves forward. I mean on all fronts.
Yeah.
I really feel like we're at a brisk pace, and Levi and I usually take 3 to 4 months to read one of these books. And we finished this book in under 2 months. I mean, we really and it didn't feel rushed. I was reading this thing. I was reading 50 pages a night, and I was like, a couple nights, a couple days, I read 100 pages, 120 pages, and I haven't done that for 4 or 5 books, and it didn't feel stressed at all. And I really, really enjoyed the part where Rand feels love for the 3 women, and they feel love for him, and they bond. It's a great chapter. And I really enjoy Matt and his relationship with Tylene, the queen who started out raping him, and then finally he's like, come with me,
and he's like, I'm gonna miss you, right?
I'm gonna miss you, yeah, come with me. And you get her perspective. You get I'm a queen. I'm taking care of my business. I can't go with you. I'll miss you. She doesn't say she says something like I'll miss you toy or something like that, but she makes him tie her up, and there's love and feistiness in the way she makes him tie her up, and it's really I don't know, that sort of back and forth, and then
this is a scene when he's trying to escape from the palace, finally
escape from the palace,
getting caught by the queen, right? And she's like, I get it, so I'll miss you. And so the other thing is that he winds up kidnapping Tuon. Yeah, Tuon, yeah.
Tuon, the daughter of the 9 moons. And he says this is, everyone's like, what are you doing? And people are bowing, and he's like, she's my wife. And they're like, are you crazy? Yeah. She's my wife. And then Tuon, they look over at her, and she just smiles. And he's like, oh God, what have I done? That's really cool. I also really like Noel, the guy that's helps Matt get out of trouble with the Golem, and then helps him kidnap Tuon or get her under control.
Yeah, and this guy came out of nowhere.
He reminded me of when Rand is fighting one of the Forsaken in Shadar Logoth, and he kills the Ale woman because the shadow touches her. But in the middle of that scene, there's a guy that just pops up out of nowhere. I don't know if you.
What was that guy's name?
he didn't say.
Yeah, there was so that guy.
Yeah, so he's like, hey, perhaps I could be of some assistance, and totally like Bill Murray's it out of Space Jam,
Yeah.
and then and then helps Rand and then disappears. And I was
Right.
like, this Noel guy, but Noel sticks around, and we get more character from him. So I really like that. It just reminded me at the beginning. It's like, hello, perhaps I could help, and you're like, wait a second, what? Jordan, how many times can you do this? But this guy.
Yeah, it plays out. It plays out.
And the other thing I like is, speaking of nostalgia, is we get a peek at, Lan's uncle, the guy who Perrin hunted way back in book. When did he hunt that guy? Maybe Shadow Rising, or
Who
Dragon
did
Reborn.
remind me of that?
So there's a scene here where this guy is jumping into portals and kills a warder and the Aes Sedai, and then jumps back out of the portal and
Right.
is talking to one of the Forsaken, I think.
Right.
And he says, "Oh, I wish it were my nephew," right? And he turns into it's Luke is the lower
And Isam.
Isam, yes, Luke, exactly, Luke and Isam.
Yeah.
And you realize because you make the connection that Moraine or someone saw his face and said, this guy looks like Lan. Or
Yes.
maybe Perrin does, and you realize he's trying to kill Nynaeve and Lan, and somehow he like fused with this other guy and is this twisted creature.
Yeah. In the dream world, he's one person. In the real world, he's another. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That was cool. Also, Moraine's. So Moraine comes up, man. Moraine is mentioned. Let me see if I have it here in my notes. No, I don't have it here in my notes. But Moraine is mentioned, and it's always interesting to like you're reading through a passage and you're like Moraine de Mordred. You're like, ooh. Like, I remember her. And, yeah. So she's still very much there. And and this was I think this was the one area of sort of commendation that I had for not so much Path of Daggers, but in Path of Daggers, Jordan I think really adds a little bit of life to Luz Theron in his craziness. And here we get that a lot more too. Oh, Luz Theron, man, he's coming out and he's just like Rand is having full-on conversations with the guy like he's either here or he's not. And if he's not, you don't know. And if he is here, he could be talking to you or he could be like giggling and cackling like wildly in the background. And he's like, we have to leave. And he starts like giggling and like laughing. And I think Jordan paints a nice portrait of a crazy man. Just where Rand is going, right?
Yeah, and I still am not sure. Like, I'm not sure Luz Theron is taint based. Like you get the sense that
right.
He's just Luz Theron reborn, and so they're meshing. Their characters are meshing,
right,
bleeding together. Who knows? The taint may be a part of it, but Rand actually has this weird thing where now every time he grabs Satan, he gets sick, and every time he lets go, he gets like dizzy and falls down. So that's an interesting addition, and we'll see what happens after he's cleansed Satan. I mean, he cleansed Satan, but we'll see what happens in the next book.
Right.
So, yeah, Luz Theron, it's an interesting thing. Him talking to that voice and it coming to life.
He's there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And he doesn't have like full page long conversations, but he's there and he's expressing his thoughts and then he goes away. He's like disappears. And so that's when Rand's trying to tell him like shut up, and like he's trying to control him at the same time. So yeah, those are definitely some cool parts, man. What about this? So the prologue was called Snow, and that was sort of a nice, we're walking through the snow basically in terms of the story as well. I liked that Robert Jordan is playing with this character, the Golem, and what was weird for me. I'll say this before we jump into a little bit more, but there's a part in I do appreciate that Robert Jordan took us into formatting. It was the first time in this series that we've come to formatting, I believe. And the source is not, you can't touch it. There are 3 ter'angreal in the city, and the source, you can't make contact with it, so you can't channel.
And it's also Cadswan's hometown, we find out.
Yeah, very cool. I just thought it was weird that Rand is going down this alleyway trying to go after this guy, and then the guy turns around and he tries to pull out a sword. But I guess that you can't channel, so I guess that would make sense. In my mind, I'm like, you're going after the Dragon Reborn with a sword. But no, he can't channel here, so there, that would sort of even the odds. But anyway,
right? And they don't know what kind of swordsman he is. They don't know that he's a master swordsman. And he just pretty much cuts them down.
Yeah, they don't know anything about him, his sorcery, his craft with the sword, right? So
one gets away, and then Peyton Fane winds up killing the other one. We find out.
Right.
He gets all bloated and is found in the street. Yeah, I don't know what to make of. Okay, so we can get to that. That's towards the end, but there are. So we talked about why we like this book. So Levi, tell me what you didn't like about this book.
The ending. Okay, so I thought the ending was, dude, it's just. All right,
I like how
right now.
I like how you had to think about that.
Yeah, there was no concentration at all. There was no hesitation with it. Dude, the ending was just jacked. What else did I not like about the book? I think there were a couple of areas where Robert Jordan, for me, and Jer and I have talked about this. Okay, the Cadsuane thing, his relationship with Cadsuane, Rand. There are a couple of areas where it was borderline breaking the believability of it. So, Min and Rand are in a tavern, right, a hotel room. So they're at the room in the inn, and then there's a knock on the door. And Min thinks it's Alana, okay, the first Aes Sedai who's bonded Rand, and she's like, "I'm gonna be all over you, so I'm gonna be all over you, and I want her to come in." So Cadsuane answers the door, and Cadsuane, pretty disrespectful towards Min, basically tells her to get out of there because she's got words for Rand. Firstly, Cadsuane slaps Rand. I was like, so you're just going to come in here and slap the Dragon Reborn? Now, we can argue about this. That was borderline pushing it for me. I know Cadsuane is supposed to teach, and I know that she's supposed to be this this woman that we all respect, and she has her own really sort of hardened way about things. And she keeps calling him boy. Basically, Cadsuane is treating Rand like a little child, and spanking him when he does something wrong. So that was the first thing, and I'm like, okay, wait, that, and Rand's not going to react to that. I mean, I think there's a certain way to treat someone civilly, even if you don't like, even if he were really cocky. But Rand's heard the fortune from Min and all the oracles saying like you can't go hard on her because whatever. And then that happens, and so I was sort of dealing with that. I'm like, all right, he's not gonna fucking take it out on her. I don't know why, but he should at least maybe say, look, if you're not going to talk with me civilly, we can't have a conversation, etc. Then Alana comes into the room, and Alana, who's just a regular Aes Sedai, tries to slap him. So this is a regular Aes Sedai trying to slap the Dragon Reborn. So I don't know what he was doing. That was hard for me. I'm like, first of all, she should be dead for bonding him in the first place. Then she comes in with the balls to try and slap him,
or at least stilled.
Right, or at least stilled. Like, so even if Rand didn't kill her right off the bat, like saying you bonded me, fine, you're dead. Or B, Rand reports her or has her reported via 4 or 5 different parties, and Tower Law is enacted and she gets stilled. And then she tries to, and then without that, she comes in and tries to, I'm like, so that was tough for me. Anyway, that's without mentioning the end. But we haven't gotten there yet. But that's one part, and I was like, I don't know if that is believable for me. So, what about you, bro? Where are you? Where were you having, I don't know, extra consideration for this book? I'm like, this is interesting.
It's still, the book had a lot of, at a certain point, had a lot of Elaine in it, like Elaine marching around her city, talking, and then there was this these assassins that try to kill her, and then a man with a face like an axe saved her, and
yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
I was like what the hell does that mean? Okay, so and then he's a dark friend, and he becomes anyway. There's all these sort of machinations with Elaine, and I just didn't find it compelling. I find Elaine's relationship with the other characters compelling. I don't find her push to become Queen of Andor interesting at all.
Right. It's not.
And maybe that pays off later in the series, but I just don't feel like it's that important. Because I know that Elaine wants to earn it on her own, but really,
right.
Rand could just say you're queen. and then and then she could play the whatever she can play with what is it called, the Game of Houses, or what
the Game of Houses, yeah,
Game of Houses, to try and maintain
Das
control.
Damar.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of that could have been cut, and we could have we could have so that got a little bit old, but I think for the most part, the book. I'm trying to think, I wasn't bothered by Cadswan. She's really trying to shake Rand up and keep him on his toes, and so she's trying to be sort of irreverent and be distant. The opposite of everyone else in Rand's life, and especially Aes Sedai, and and she throws him off his game. He's confused by it. So I liked that.
Right.
So I think overall, I really, again, this book was strong for me. One of the strongest ones, and I know. I know people might disagree with that. If you disagree with that, and you think this book is one of the bottom ones, or you didn't like this book at all, let us know why. I'm really curious, especially if you thought it was better than Path of Daggers, or
if you thought it was worse than Path of Daggers, or the same,
yeah. Or because if you look on Amazon, they both have the same rating, and I want to know why.
That's weird.
Yeah, why do you think Path of Daggers is better than this, or do you think they're about the same? I would like to know, because I think it's better.
And that's the weird part, because we were looking on Amazon, and this is sort of what we were expecting walking into this series. Like, there's a we can see the curve of his books, right? And in terms of popularity, and Winter's Heart was, usually mixed in with the valley, usually mixed in with the low point of the selection of books. But both Jer and I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so here we go. Levi, let's talk about the ending.
Let's not talk about the ending yet.
Oh, okay.
We want to talk about Aviendha being pregnant.
Oh. Aviendha.
So what do we have here? So here's a tricky bit. We've in the book we've mentioned Aviendha being pregnant. Elaine has also mentioned
She's pregnant,
right? Yeah.
When is Aviendha pregnant?
I have to look and find out in my notes, man. But it says
Min says that Aviendha is going to carry 3 children at some point. She
yes.
sees, yeah. But Elaine is the one that is pregnant, like currently pregnant.
I think there was one point we'd have to go back and look, but I think it was one paragraph that said, Aviendha. Let me see if I can find it in my notes. Aviendha was pregnant. Let me look up.
Because they've only
chapter 26.
Because they've only had sex once, and it was a while ago.
Yeah, but he's the Dragon Reborn.
I mean, Elaine, as far as we know, they had sex like for 24 hours or something.
Dude, that was the first time they had sex in the entire series.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking when she's like, "Are you going to help me out of these clothes, or am I
Yeah.
going to do myself?" And you're like, "Whoa, Jordan, what are you doing?
Jordan, we know what he was doing.
You're violating your puritanical code."
Yeah.
Chapter 26, you said?
26. Let's see. I'll have to look for their...
Yeah, you look for that, and I'll
Yes, you at home get to play music, elevator music, while we look for this.
Avienda woke with a start. Let's see. I mean, yeah. So Elaine is definitely pregnant towards the end of this book. We know that.
Yes. Yes.
And so I guess what is your point about Avienda and Elaine being pregnant? It's
just that this is the first time it's mentioned.
You know, I think in previous conversations we talked about the lack of there is some mention of birth control, but the lack of sort of children or pregnant Aes Sedai, and how you wonder about the fertility of a Aes Sedai who's, I don't know, 300 years old but looks, ageless, or can they still get pregnant? It's a weird thing. It's sort of like in fantasy when you ignore people eating, having sex,
right,
pooping or peeing, like basic sort of
the taboo sort of subjects. You don't talk about them.
Activities of daily living,
right,
and so they don't really talk about that until this book. There's sex and Elaine's pregnant, and you in the back of my mind when I'm reading that, I'm like, oh, that's weird that all these Aes Sedai are having sex with their warders and no one's getting pregnant. It'd be nice to know sort of why that is or what's going on there.
So there's one. So maybe it didn't state it directly that she was pregnant. I thought I read somewhere. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, page 582, 583, 582. We have on the very bottom. It says for Avienda, the breakfast laid out in the sitting room consisted of cured ham, raisins, eggs, all this stuff. And then it says, and instead the rest, a hot porridge of grains and herbs. She was supposed to be especially healthy. She did not feel with child, no matter what men had told Avienda. But men had told Bridget too. Once the three of them began getting drunk. The next page it says, let's see. She did not really mourn the spiced wine, sweets and other things, blah, 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 blah. Not that much anyway, except when Avienda was gobbling tarts and puddings. But everyone in the palace knew that she was pregnant. Is that talking about Elaine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Avienda's gonna be pregnant.
Okay, so that's just he's alluding to it, but it hasn't the seed hasn't dropped yet.
Yeah. Rand is gonna have a lot of sex in future books or in his future life after.
Well, he had a threesome, so why not?
Did he have a threesome?
No.
Oh.
The threesome of the Bond. And then the rest of them went out, and then Elaine got the first hit.
My friend, that was a foursome.
Oh yeah. Full.
Rand needs more arms, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot for one guy.
Okay. All right, so there's that. So then Elaine goes out to meet the Saladans. There's a little bit of that. There's these interesting things that Jordan talks about. A place called Shara. Beyond the Blight on page 639.
Oh yeah.
It's a place. Oh, check this out. Let me find my notes on this. My notes were saying.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna read my favorite quote from this book.
Oh, dude, we can get into quotes. 431.
Well, Levi's looking at that stuff. Okay, so page 700. I really like this quote. I've already read to Levi, but basically, Land says, "You can never know everything," he said quietly, "and part of what you know is always wrong, perhaps even the most important part. A portion of wisdom lies in knowing that. A portion of courage lies in going on anyway." Sort of.
That's Rand.
That's Land. The dialectical nature of life, right? That we exist in this gray, and it's not just like black or white, and it's that you know that there's gray, and you move forward anyway into the gray.
And there's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is.
Basically, it's a nice summation of what life's about. So that's probably my favorite quote out of the book.
Very pretty quote. I'm going to go into some quotations, and that's an awesome quotation by Lan. I really appreciate that one. Page 431, it says, so my question that I asked in my notes was, how big is the Shan Chan Empire? Because I got this description, page 431 at the top. Shan Chan was an empire larger than all the nations between the Aryth Ocean and the spine of the world, all under one empress, but with a history of almost constant rebellions and revolts that kept the soldiers' skills keen. And I'm like, wow, how big is this place? Right? That they're sending these soldiers over to reclaim what they believe is theirs. So that the world building of Robert Jordan is it's insane. So
it's pretty good. I have, again, it's the L.E. Modisette Jr. complaint where you need a plausible economy.
Economy has to happen, right? And is not plausible.
Right. His economy.
1,000 gold.
1,000 gold for this, 1,000
gold. Talk about that, yeah.
Right. And it's in this book over and over again that the cost of things are astronomical.
Right.
And yet everyone's eating well. I mean, let's be honest here, guys.
Taverns are running perfectly. There's water everywhere. You're like, wait a minute.
Right. Disease would be rampant. You'd be losing half your population.
Right.
And yeah, so all that is highly unbelievable. When we get to another town, it's like, I pay 3 weeks' wages. Well, no one would be able to afford any of this stuff.
Right. When you actually start doing the math, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
Right, and you're coming off a drought, and now you're in hard winter. Where is this food coming from? Anyone? Like,
exactly.
Who's growing this stuff? Is there a fertile crescent? No, there's no place like that on this land, with the exception of maybe Edmonds Field in that area, which was never hit by the blight. But they farm out tobacco, so it's a weird thing. If things were so dire and food was at such a high price, then people wouldn't be worrying about tobacco. They'd be growing food and selling it for really high prices. And so the law of sort of supply and demand and basic sort of economics are not in this series, or if they are, they're in a very sort of minimal amount. It's a lot of hand waving.
Right, and it's not a lot of hand waving. And if you actually thought it out and you were asked questions and real economy took place, you would not have any room for royalty and peasantry, and everything worked out. So I don't know. Yeah, I think there's definitely the L.E. Modisette Jr. Plays an important role. If you don't have an economy, then the verisimilitude drops majorly.
Yeah, and by L.E. Modisette Jr. When we talk about him, you'll always notice in his books and in some of his discussions, he always pushes economy. Okay, so Levi, you wanted to talk about either something else or quotes?
No, let's hit the ending first, and let's do some quotes, man. Let's do this. Let's talk about this ending.
Okay, so if you guys don't remember, a little bit of a refresher. Basically, Rand falls off a roof with Lan and farm matting, fighting Pat and Fane.
Right.
They fall, and Rand gets thumped on the head, wakes up in a dungeon.
In a cell, right?
Just in a cell. And Cadswan and Nynaeve both have Terran Grail that are wells for Sadar. They go to the council and they scare the crap out of them because no one's supposed to be able to channel in formatting, but they do it with their wells. And they break Rand free, who's completely bruised and sort of befuddled. But sort of zen-like too. I remember he reads off the list of all the women who die, and they find him like with a weird smile on his face. And they're like, "Whoa, what is wrong with you?" They leave formatting, and the moment they're out of formatting and they can channel, Rand's like,
as soon as he crosses the gates,
okay, let's go clean Satan. And you're like, whoa, what? And then boom, they're in Shadar Logoth. And
Yeah. Close it, man. Keep going.
and what I love about this scene, the thing I love most about this scene, is this is a super complex scene. Robert Jordan is using his physics background to apply magnetism. Evils like in Rand's side, that those cuts that
Right.
fight against each other, the evils repel each other, and he builds this scene where Rand links in an Eve and uses Sadar as a channel, and then
To
pushes
connect.
and
Right.
pushes Satan through the channel through Shatter Logith, and the taint as it's going around in a circle in this massive flow.
This huge geographic like circle.
Yeah,
Right.
the taint is getting pushed out, repelled from Shatter Logith, and just starts stacking above him. Then you get this moment where all the Forsaken fight them, and then this thing collapses, and Shadow Logith
It
disappears.
just takes it with it.
Takes
Right.
the taint with it. And so that's the scene. Levi, tell me what's wrong there.
No, so what's wrong is instantly when Rand comes out of there and just, we have no warning at all. No build up to it. No, like, hey guys, I got an idea. Maybe in like 3 or 4 books, I'm going to cleanse this site in. So just something to think about, something to put on the radar. And then,
Hey guys, I was just in a dungeon and I'm all bruised up and I fell on my head. Can we rest a little? No, you know what? Let me just open this portal and let's go clean
Yeah.
Satan.
Totally. Just out of nowhere. It's just like Robert Jordan. This is the first time. I mean, this guy is a prolix individual. I mean, this dude is a voluble man. We're going through books, and this is book number 9 of an average of 700 plus pages, right? And out of nowhere, you're going to just bullet right to this huge, like, world-breaking plot point, and he's going to do it in like
40 pages.
totally. You just like basically 20 pages. You know what? I'm done. You're like, you just, dude. We've read 9 of your books, and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, the end.
And this is arguably the most substantial move that Rand has made against the Dark One.
Huge.
And it happens in 20 or 30 pages.
20 or 30 pages. Done.
9 books in, without any sort of warning or any sort of...
No warning. Yeah, you're just, because there's no build up to it. There's no like, hey, at some point I'm looking forward to Rand, how he's gonna like cleanse Satan, or how he's gonna use Kalendor. What's he gonna do? How's he gonna? No, we're gonna tell you I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. You're in fucking 20 pages. You're gonna be done. Like, whoa.
So there are a couple of arguments for this. One is he was in formatting for a while, and he felt rushed because he heard of the news of everyone moving while he was in the dungeon, and he was like, I got to do this now, or we're going to be in trouble. 2, he just killed the Ashman and made sure they were all dead, and so because the Ashman are all dead, they can't participate in this battle. The 4 that were against him, with the exception of Deshiva, who's really a Forsaken. 3, he Peyton Fane once again almost kills him, and his pain in his side, literally, and he decides, let's see, I wanted, this is where I think Robert Jordan faltered a little bit, and I told Levi this. There should have been a scene where he's like, you know what, Peyton Fane, fuck him, I'm taking out Shatter Logith.
That would have connected it.
Yeah, I think that this would destroy Shatter Logith. Let's go do this now. And he had been driven a little bit by anger. Now that would have been in contrast to sort of his Zen-like appearance after he got out of the dungeon. But
we wouldn't have an issue with it.
It would have made a little more sense. So I do agree with Levi. The ending is rushed. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's especially sort of like, I don't know if you guys have seen Benny Hill. He's I don't know, he's old UK comedian, but I really felt like the Forsaken were in a Benny Hill episode. It's like,
oh my god, dude,
just sort of running around, bumping into each other.
They're clumsy, just like they don't know what they're doing. They're hiding behind trees in plain sight of everyone else. It's like they're acting like a hide and seek game of 8th graders.
And one of the funniest scenes I find in the book, Osengar is getting ready to release Balefire to kill Rand, and
is it? Yes, Osengar. Yeah, he's like, and who knew? I'm going to be the hero of the day, and he cocks back. And of course, he's known to everyone else as Deshiva, and Aes Sedai, who's a Black Aja, sees him and is like, "Oh, I'm toasting this son of a bitch. I know he's an Ashman," and kills
one of the Forsaken,
wipes him off the map.
wipes him off the
Just
map, and she's like,
just destroys like 50 feet of dirt.
right, it's all just like a molten lava, and she's so proud of herself, for for getting away with that when she just killed her own side.
And we don't get an explanation of as to why or how she can use Kalendor. Because she uses Kalendor to do it, to cast the Balefire.
Oh, I thought it was the guy next.
She pulled it out, and she uses Kalendor to just pull the trigger of the Balefire. And I'm like,
no, I don't think she uses Balefire on him. She melts the side of the mountain, like turns it all into molten lava or something. Did she use Balefire?
I thought she used Balefire.
It's unclear, I think.
Yeah, okay. Because if she used Balefire from Kalendor, I'm like, wait, what? But anyway, if she just melts the side of the mountain, then...
And he's just gone. So she just melts him, and that's how I read it. But anyway...
Okay, yeah.
It's all these people...
It's hilarity. It's like it's a mad world. Just shit happening everywhere. Like, people tripping over, like... like people running at Forsaken, and Forsaken are like tripping over themselves, and they're not cohesive. There's no solidarity. They're just all running around, like running into each other. It's like they're blindfolded mice. Just like they're supposed to be. So we, in this entire series, we feel there's this feeling that Robert Jordan gives us as the Forsaken is there right next to the Dark One. They're like archangels of darkness, and they have the power to like frighten children and frighten the world, and people like shiver at their names and don't ever mention it. But then they're just fucking retarded. They're just like rocking around like they have no idea what they're doing. They're getting caught. They're getting wrecked. And you're like, who are these people?
And they know all this stuff, and they're using the same like inverted weaves and the same stuff that Aes Sedai, who've only been around for a couple hundred years, are using. And you got to wonder, why are these people so powerful? Every time Rand goes up against these guys, and it actually wasn't even Rand this time. It was like his cadre of people who all leaned together and were running around trying to protect him. Every time they go up against Rand, they come off as like bumbling idiots, and that's what I mean by Benny Hill. So the ending, while entertaining, was limited in its impact, mainly because I think Levi had said earlier that it was sort of like Robert Jordan was exploratory writing and just was like, oh, here we go, here's our ending. And I agree with that he probably should have edited that, and it probably should have been a coherent attack by the Forsaken, at least 2 or 3 of them linked together,
right?
And the stakes should have been higher.
Agreed, because the stakes, we don't know the stakes. The stakes weren't high enough for Rand to feel in danger. Rand didn't even fucking know the Forsaken were there. That's how he had no feeling of him being threatened. He didn't feel his cadre were threatened. He's just simply like cleansing Sidon, and he's feeling the pain of that. He's feeling like Sidon around him, but Sidon's the only one's hit it. The Sidon channeling, the process of it, that's the only thing that he's feeling. He has no clue that there are like 4 Forsaken out there, like and he has no reason to feel a threat because they're all bumbling idiots.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, and if it hadn't been on Rand's side, then his cadre, Cadswan, and all these people should have felt something. Should have been like, oh man, we're in trouble, and you never really got there. And Moradin, who uses the true power and not the one power, the Mihail or whatever, is, and I think he's Ishmael.
The Mihail is Mazrim Tam.
No, sorry, Ishmael. The Forsaken.
Okay.
The Forsaken Ishmael, because
I think is Ishmael.
Yeah, because Rand cut him from the one power, cut his black cord.
The first book number 1.
And then cut cords, and then he killed him. And so I feel like when he was reborn, he only got access to the true power, which makes you, I guess, as the cost of it gives you black motes or something on your eyes.
Right.
Anyway, this guy should have been there, right? If you're the general and you're gonna attack, or even Mazrim Taim. Mazrim Taim should have been there, helping the. I don't know. Do you think Mazrim Taim is a Forsaken, or do you think he's just a?
No, I don't think he's Forsaken. I think he's a very arrogant guy, sort of like he's basically Donald Trump of the blood of with who's able to channel.
Oh, okay.
So but he's obviously much smarter. So we haven't gone over this officially in the podcast. So in this book, it's released that Mazrim Taim called the hit on Rand for the Ashaman to go and kill him, and that's known a couple times. Right when the two Ashaman are coming up the stairs and Padan Fane's trying to escape, they release that basically the Imhale would be upset if all this stuff. So basically, Mazrim Taim called the hit on Rand, and Rand now knows it. He's aware, and so no, I don't think Mazrim Taim is a. I think he's just a guy who wants a lot of power, and he's going to do whatever it takes to take Rand out. And he feels that he can.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make sense if Mazrim Taim winds up to be a Forsaken or a Dark Friend. It doesn't make sense that he would build the Black Tower first.
Agreed.
Unless he planned on taking it all over, then I guess that makes sense. But still, that's a high risk.
That's a long process as well.
Right, and then you'd have to bring all the Ashaman over to the dark side. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But it's a weird. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I agree. I don't think he's a Forsaken, but I think he very well could be, a Dark Friend, or have gone over his allegiances. Could be in the center or something.
Or he was just like pulled from maybe like the Dark Lord is like he pulled him over and said, "Hey, I'll give you all this power if you." Well, who knows? I think he's just I think he's a guy who can channel and is very, very strong, basically as strong as Rand, or nearly as strong as Rand, and Rand's in his way. That's what I think. One of the questions Jer and I talked about offline here was. You asked, bro, what's the point of Rand going after the Ashaman? I mean, it's drops in the bucket.
Yeah.
And my response to that was, I think he wants to send a message. And now he knows. So he's been having trouble, right, with his second in command. He's been having a little bit of conflict, coming up against some issues with Mazrim Taim, and he wants to just set everything straight. But now he knows that Mazrim Taim called the hit on him, and now he's like, okay, fine, let's go. Because at the point you have the Black Tower being erected, and all these guys who never could channel now can channel. And he wants to say, look, if you can channel, you're supposed to do this to help me. And if I find that you're going against me, then we're going to have some issues. And when you come at the king, you better bring everything you got, and you better not miss. And they missed.
And he cleansed the Satan for them. So
right.
He's sort of owed a little respect and a little love, I think. Although he did get love from the women in this book, so
he did. I do like how Padan Fane was written. The Padan Fane scene was, God, that guy's an asshole. I can't wait for him. I'm excited to see how he dies. I'm very excited, dude. There's one description of him. Robert Jordan says it was like a weasel backing up and gnawing, and I was like, that's perfectly illustrated.
This is what I want to happen. It's not going to happen, but this is what I want to happen. I want the Dark One to come out of his hole and attack Rand. And when he goes to attack Rand, Padan Fane stabs him in the back. And the Dark One is killed by the dagger.
Of Shadar Lagoth. Nice.
And then Rand is like, oh, and then kills Padan Fane. And Padan Fane's like, because Padan Fane's like, no, I get to kill him, not you, Dark Lord. And Dark Lord's like, I'm the Dark. What the heck? What is this thing?
Oh, that'd be awesome. 14 books, and the Dark Lord gets killed by Padan Fane. That's the final battle.
That's final battle. Yeah, it's like 2 pages. The Dark Lord goes after Rand. He's stabbed in the back by Padan Fane. Rand's like, hey, what the heck? I was supposed to kill him. And he kills Padan Fane. Balefire kills Padan Fane.
The end of the Wheel of Time.
And basically, it's the dagger and Rand's wound. Those are the only things left to shed our blood.
of the dark taint. Yeah.
Shadow Logan.
And Paden Fain himself.
And Pain
I think
himself.
there's something, obviously, the darker than the dark, or the blacker than black, inside Paden Fain, I think.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to define what sort of. He's sort of like an amorphous mix of all evils ever existing.
Yeah.
Because the Dark One got him. Shadow Logus got him.
Yep.
The winds, my Chin, the winds and the ways got him, but he scared the shit out of him. So they ran away.
They wouldn't touch him. They wouldn't touch him.
So pretty much everything that's evil in that world, he's been touched by, and so.
I put up a couple questions here, and one of those questions was, do you think, bro, that we will see the ways again? Now that we have traveling, and traveling is so easy for us, and Robert Jordan has created this sort of transportation system that's very easy, will we see the ways again?
I hope so. I would like to see what happens now that Satan has been cleansed. Because the what is it called, Maichin, or the winds, the black winds,
Machin something. Machin.
They came with the taint of Satan, right? Yeah. So you got to wonder what happened to them, or if that's resolved. I would love to see it, man. I don't know though.
I hope so. That's a nostalgic point in itself. The ways, very well done, bro. I'm gonna toss out some quotations that I have written down here.
Yeah. Let's hear some of them.
And for my listeners, for our listeners here, Jer and I read this, and we went along at a pretty quick clip. Jer finished a few days before I did, and then. But man, because of life, I have not put up my post yet as of this podcast. But I hope by the time everyone listens to them, all my posts will be up. They should be up this week. But I have some quotations here. I always take notes, so I annotated. This is how much I love the series. Right? We are, obviously, you can feel our love for the series as we've gone through 9 books and going through a podcast and writing up our posts. But I put up a list of ends. That we've seen in Winter's Heart. We have the Wandering Woman with Satel Anon, right? The Crown of Moreto in Farmatting, the Council's Head, the Archers, the Golden Wheel, and the Heart of the Plain, or the 3 Ladies of Moreto, also in Farmatting. I always like his titles for ends. They're very, very cool, man. He's just got a great. You can see it, right? As soon as you see the name, you're like, I can.
He's got a great
place.
Yeah. He's not using an auto generator.
No.
He definitely puts time and thought into the names of these places.
Awesome. So a couple of the quotations I have. Some of the quotations that are coming out in this book were just amazing. The one where Queen Tylin says to Matt, she says. The trouble of having a pet fox is that sooner or later it remembers it's a fox. Women are a maze through briars in the night. Swords only become useful when wits fail.
That's a good one. Wow.
Oh, check this out. I don't know if you noticed this, bro, but I found the quotation that has the book's namesake.
Oh, let's hear it.
He needed to drink in winter till he made winter's heart seem Sunday noon.
Nice. I don't remember that, man. Yeah, wow.
That was on page 560. And then I think that was it was when Min is lying on top of Ran and asks the person outside to come in. He needed to drink in winter's heart. The next is, a man who trusts everyone is a fool, and a man who trusts no one is a fool. We are all fools if we live long enough. That is from Luz Theron. So good, dude. So good. All right. The world seldom knows what it thinks it knows. I like that one. Oh, this is a sick one. Most merchants would trade with their mother's murderer if it brought a profit.
Oh, I remember that one. I remember thinking,
so sick.
It's true, man. It's definitely in that world.
Oh, here we go. Women lied to get a man into bed, and they lied worse once they had him there. That's all I got, bro.
Great quotes, man. Great quotes.
Those are some good ones.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
folks, what do you think, bro? Any final? Yeah, let's drop into this.
any final thoughts?
Now.
Let me see.
Final thoughts on Winter's Heart.
Oh, that's a Winter's Heart. A lot better than we thought it was going to be.
Oh, so much better.
We both enjoyed it. And I know we're saying that we're reading it fast in 2 months. And I know there are people out there that are reading it in 2 days and being like, what are you guys talking about? But for us,
2 months is fast.
It was fast and it was enjoyable. And I'm now looking, I feel a little bit more, I feel re-energized, and I'm looking forward to Crossroads of Twilight. Again, I'm gonna say this, the covers don't do me any favors, but Levi likes them.
I do.
And
I do like
they're tolerable. I'm just looking, if you have Crossroads of Twilight in front of you, I just want you to look at the cover and look at Matt's head. Matt's head, it looks like Andre the Giant's head superimposed on the body of a midget. It just does not.
The proportion on that one is a little off.
Maybe the Friday the 13th, like William Shatner mask.
The Halloween mask.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It's just, Michael Myers, I guess.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, but looking forward to this. It's a 100-page prologue. I just looked at it the other night and was
That'll be our first post.
100 pages. So it's going to be Levi's read here.
Okay.
Glimmers of the Pattern. Take it away, Levi.
Here we go. All right, let's go. Prologue from Crossroads of Twilight. Here we go. Let's open this. Rodel Iturralde hated waiting, though he well knew it was the largest part of being a soldier. Waiting for the next battle, for the enemy to move, to make a mistake. He watched the winter forest and was as still as the trees. The sun stood halfway to its peak and gave no warmth. His breath misted, white, in front of his face, frosting his neatly trimmed mustache and the black fox fur lining his hood. He was glad that his helmet hung at his pommel. His breastplate held the cold and radiated it through his coat and all the layers of wool, silk, and linen beneath. Even Dart's saddle felt cold, as though the white gelding were made of frozen milk. The helmet would have addled his brain.
Jeez. Jordan, man. Oh.
Bro,
wow.
Why don't you read this this prophecy from the Prophecies of the Dragon just after the contents?
Let's see here. You gotta. Okay, so it looks like this book's about 800 pages long. Okay, and it shall come to pass in the days when the dark hunt rides, when the right hand falters and the left hand strays, that mankind shall come to the crossroads of twilight, and all that is, all that was, and all that will be shall balance on the point of a sword, while the winds of the shadow grow. Jane Fairstrider.
Yes, Jane Fairstrider. That's one of the things I think Jer has mentioned this. That he knows where that comes from. I don't know yet, but we're probably gonna find out.
So this is 820 pages. It's a little bit longer than our last one by about 50, 60 pages.
Yeah.
And I hope it's good, man. I hope it's as good as Winter's Heart. That will soothe my soul knowing that. And then we'll just have we got 5 books left, so we're on the downslope.
I carry the same hope, bro. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us on the podcast here of Winter's Heart. If you have any comments, join us in the discussion. Follow us along at our homepage, www.acrossthewheel.wordpress.com. And throw out questions, comments, anything you want. Hang out with us. But until the next time, we'll keep going.
Take it easy.